Welcome back to the Sarcastic Traveller's Guide, where we help you navigate the world's most iconic cities with just the right amount of eye-rolling. Today we're off to London, the city of royalty, red buses and weather that'll have you questioning your life choices. Ready to get drenched in history, culture and probably rain? Let's jump in. First stop, Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament. Because what's a trip to London without snapping a selfie in front of this iconic clock tower? Fun fact, Big Ben is actually the name of the bell, not the tower. But hey, we're all guilty of calling it the wrong name. Pro tip, try to act impressed when you hear Big Ben chime on the hour, because let's be honest, it's just a big clock. And while you're at it, take a stroll along the River Thames for more photo ops. But be prepared to dodge 1,000 other tourists doing the exact same thing. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can even book a tour inside the Houses of Parliament. Just be sure to brush up on your British political knowledge so you can nod along knowingly as the guide drones on about the UK's fascinating legislative process. Next up, the London Eye, a giant Ferris wheel that offers panoramic views of the city for a price that will make you question your life choices. But hey, it's one of those things you have to do, right? Pro tip, book your tickets online in advance to avoid the absurdly long queues. Or, if you're feeling frugal, skip the eye altogether and head to the nearby Sky Garden or the Shard for equally impressive views, minus the hefty price tag. And if you do decide to brave the London Eye, make sure to go at sunset for the best Instagram-worthy shots. Just don't forget to smile and pretend you're enjoying the slow, awkward rotation while crammed into a glass pod with strangers. Let's head over to Buckingham Palace, the official residence of the Queen. Or should I say, King Charles now? It's a must-see, mainly because everyone else is doing it. And you wouldn't want to miss out on the chance to stand outside a big fancy house. Pro tip, time your visit to catch the changing of the guards ceremony. It's a lot of pomp and circumstance, but hey, it's free entertainment. Just try not to get trampled by the hordes of tourists jostling for a good view. And if you're lucky enough to visit during the summer months, you can even tour the staterooms inside the palace. Just be prepared for strict security checks and absolutely no photography, because nothing says welcome to the palace like being told off by a stern British guard. Next stop, the British Museum, a vast collection of artefacts from around the world, most of which were acquired during the heyday of the British Empire. It's one of the most impressive museums in the world, and the best part, it's free. Pro tip, start with the Rosetta Stone and the Elgin marbles, because these are the stars of the show. And while you're at it, take a moment to appreciate the irony of seeing treasures from Egypt, Greece, and beyond all housed in London. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by the sheer size of the place, pick up a map and stick to the highlights. Or better yet, just wander aimlessly and pretend that you're deeply moved by ancient sculptures and relics. Either way, you'll leave with a newfound appreciation for Britain's extensive collection. Let's take a trip back in time with a visit to the Tower of London, home to the crown jewels, yeoman warders, and a history of imprisonment and executions. It's a bit grim, but that's all part of the charm. Pro tip, join one of the yeoman warder tours for a mix of history and humour. These guys know their stuff, and they'll throw in a few jokes to keep things light. Because who doesn't love a good laugh about beheadings? And don't forget to check out the crown jewels, because if you're going to stand in line for an hour, it might as well be to see some of the world's most impressive bling. Just don't expect to get too close. Those jewels are guarded tighter than the Queen's corgis. Next up, Covent Garden, a lively area filled with street performers, trendy shops, and overpriced restaurants. It's a great place to soak up the atmosphere, but be prepared to spend more than you planned. Pro tip, grab a seat in the piazza and watch the street performers do their thing. It's free entertainment, but don't forget to toss a coin or two into the hat. These guys are working hard to entertain you after all. And if you're in the mood for shopping, Covent Garden Market is the place to be. From handmade crafts to quirky souvenirs, there's something for everyone. Just be prepared to pay a premium. This isn't exactly a bargain hunter's paradise. Let's head over to the West End, London's famous theatre district. Whether you're into musicals, dramas, or something in between, there's a show for you. And even if you're not a theatre buff, it's worth going just to say you've been. Pro tip, book your tickets in advance. Or if you're feeling spontaneous, check out the TKTS booth in Leicester Square for last-minute deals. You might even snag a decent seat without breaking the bank. And if you're not sure what to see, go for a classic like Les Miserables or The Phantom of the Opera. They've been running for decades, so they must be doing something right. Just don't forget to clap at the end, because that's what cultured people do, right? After all that sightseeing, it's time to unwind in Hyde Park, one of London's largest and most famous green spaces. Whether you're in the mood for a leisurely stroll or a paddle on the Serpentine, Hyde Park has something for everyone. Pro tip, grab a coffee and find a spot to sit and people watch. Londoners love their parks, and you'll see everyone from joggers to dog walkers to tourists like yourself trying to navigate the park's endless paths. And if you're feeling active, rent a bike or a rowboat and explore the park from a different angle. Just be sure to avoid the swans. They may look peaceful, but they're not to be messed with. Next, let's head north to Camden Market, an eclectic mix of food stalls, vintage shops, and alternative culture. It's chaotic, it's crowded, and it's a must-visit for anyone who loves a bit of weirdness in their life. Pro tip, go hungry, because the food stalls here are legendary. From street food to sweets, there's something to satisfy every craving. Just be prepared to elbow your way through the crowds. Camden is popular, and for good reason. And if you're in the mood for shopping, you'll find everything from vintage clothing to quirky home decor. It's the perfect place to pick up a unique souvenir. Just don't be surprised if you end up buying something you never knew you needed. Let's talk about the Tube, London's iconic underground system. It's fast, it's efficient, and it's a great way to get around the city. But it can also be a bit of a nightmare if you're not prepared. Pro tip, get yourself an Oyster card or use contactless payment to avoid the hassle of buying tickets. And for the love of all things British, mind the gap when getting on and off the train. Seriously, they won't stop reminding you. And if you're travelling during rush hour, be prepared for some serious crowding. Londoners don't mess around when it comes to getting to work, so just go with the flow and try not to get trampled. Oh, and remember to stand on the right side of the escalator, unless you enjoy being tutted at by angry commuters. Now let's head over to Piccadilly Circus, London's answer to Times Square. It's busy, it's bright, and it's basically just a giant roundabout surrounded by shops and neon signs. But hey, it's iconic, so you have to see it at least once. Pro tip, try to snap a photo without getting run over by a double-decker bus. It's trickier than it sounds, but worth the effort. And if you're in the mood for shopping, head to nearby Regent Street or Carnaby Street for some serious retail therapy. And while you're in the area, check out the Shaftesbury Memorial Fountain and the Statue of Eros. It's a popular meeting spot, so if you get separated from your friends, just head here and hope for the best. Last but not least, let's talk about afternoon tea. A quintessentially British experience that you absolutely have to try while you're in London. It's all about sipping tea, nibbling on tiny sandwiches and pretending to be posh. Pro tip, book a table in advance, especially if you're planning to visit one of the more famous spots like the Ritz or Fortnum and Mason. And don't be afraid to indulge. Afternoon tea is meant to be a treat, so go ahead and enjoy that extra scone. And if you're not a fan of tea, don't worry. Most places offer coffee or even champagne as an alternative. Just be sure to stick out your pinky finger as you sip, because that's what fancy people do, right? And that's a wrap on our extended sarcastic survival guide to London. Whether you're braving the tubes, snapping selfies in front of Big Ben, or getting lost in Camden Market, London is a city that's full of surprises. So, subscribe and drop a comment below with your most sarcastic travel tip. And remember, when in doubt, just act like you belong. Because in London, no one's gonna question it. Cheerio, travellers.
All right, listen up. You've just survived 10 minutes of pure sarcastic gold, so do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Unless, of course, you enjoy wandering the internet aimlessly, lost without direction or purpose. But seriously, if you don't subscribe, you might just miss out on more of this top-tier content. So click it now, before you start regretting all your life choices. Go on, I'm waiting.